Test, test. Yeah, I think it's go. Welcome to the Nad Knows podcast. We have a very special guest today. This is Laura Ahmed with a new name. We recently just went to Mexico and we visited the Teotihuacan pyramids. And we have questions. We have more questions than answers.
It was so beautiful and mysterious and full of vibrant energy.
Yeah, there it was a lot going on. And so our tour guide, Julio, shout out the tour group.
Julio con Corazon Chilango Tours.
He did amazing. He gave us a lot of information and really set the scene and just made us more curious. So we went back. We were like, we got to watch some documentaries. We have to get into this because just to give a quick intro, this is an ancient civilization that lasted around 750, 800 years. They got up to 200,000 people in population.
Huge.
And there are no depictions of a ruling class, king, rulers. So essentially, the main going theory out there is that they still did have a ruling class and kings and all that, but with no writings to point to that, no art to point to that. So I don't buy it just yet. I think there needs to be more research and we'll get into it. But we wanted to go through our day with Julio, how we got introduced to it, the grounds and then the pyramids, everything we saw. So let's get into it.
Yeah. Also, y'all, if you're ever in Mexico City and you need a tour, please support Corazon Chilango Tours. All local tour guides that are from the area and have so much knowledge of just different places in Mexico City.
They're the best because Danny, our driver, shout out to Danny, even though he does not have Instagram or any social media. He was an absolute angel.
Yeah, he came to greet us at the door. We're leaving a museum and he came out holding an umbrella because it was raining outside and just came and got us and walked us back to the car. And I was like, I love this. I love it here.
After the pyramid day, he gave us each 2 little green heart necklaces with these little green stones.
Sweet.
Anyway, Teotihuacan.
So let's start our day, Nad. We
Yeah.
woke up.
Yeah.
We left our B&B at 8 a.m.
Danny picked us up.
Danny picked us up. They drove us out to Teotihuacan, which is about an hour outside of Mexico City. The drive there was really cool too. Just seeing all the houses on the mountains and just so vibrant. The colors.
Yes. There was what are those called?
Cable car.
Cable cars for the people that live more up in the mountains to get down into the city. So that was crazy.
Which you can ride for 8 pesos.
Which is a couple cents.
Yeah, it's not even 50 cents.
Super worth it. The gondolas in Colorado could never. But we arrived to Teotihuacan, and the first part of the grounds that we cover was more of the residential plots, the different complexes. What did we call them? The compounds. So it seemed, depending on the type of compound, there could be 10 to 50 people living in one particular area. It was very communal living. It seemed, from what we learned, familial living. So it was pretty much kept within the family. And then for the priests and people that are more, and priestesses that are involved in the ceremonies, they might have a separate one. So less or more could be living there and they wouldn't be familial. And then I think one of the other buckets of residential areas were the artisans. That seemed there were also more artisan focused residential areas. So those wouldn't be familial either. It would just be a conglomerate of maybe similar crafts. Generally, for the main population, it was homes, living together. One of the coolest things from that part of the tour was the sunken patios, because Julio explained that they would fill with a little bit of water and there would be a reflection of the stars. And you can explain that a little bit more. They used it so they wouldn't have to look up the stars. They could look down.
Everything there. It was also like a way to shine light into their temples, into their little homes.
Because the full moon is bright. And so if that's reflecting off of this shimmering.
The way that they had all of it's not a gutter, It was
The drain,
the
yeah.
drainage that was built into all of these homes. Anytime it would rain, that drainage would just fall into those sunken patios, and that's what they used for their light.
Yeah, it just seems like free lighting. It might be a little bit darker on the new moons. And then after that, we were already like, wow, this is amazing. We got like a peek of the pyramids while we were driving in. But then really walking out and seeing the Pyramid of the Moon, that was crazy.
It was huge, y'all. I've been to mountain ranges and big structures and hoodoos, and I'm just like, no, this felt just massive. I
And it
felt
wasn't
so
even the biggest one.
tiny. Yes.
It was the second biggest one, but we hadn't gotten
Crazy.
close to the other one yet. It was nuts. Oh, we did see some murals inside
Yes.
before getting to there. We jumped ahead
Yes,
a little
so we
bit.
saw murals that had like birds, jaguar,
They
serpent faces.
They used a lot of symbology and a lot of representations of water. The one, and I'll put it up on the screen, as a jaguar, and it looks like he's blowing into a conch shell, and then the water droplets coming out, and that's representing the fertility and like the nourishing of the land. Also, when we were in Mexico City, we got a cleanse, and they blew the conch shells at our chest and around us, and so I could see the jaguar and the conch shell being like some kind of like healing ritual as well. I don't know how much of what the cleanse was authentic.
Yeah.
Julio was like, that wasn't exactly the way they dressed back in the day.
Yeah.
So I wonder what was, but to me it was similar. There were people blowing those conch shells. It felt crazy. That felt so good.
In the anthropology museum, there were also the conch shells, which they used them. They're called trumpets, trompetas, and so I feel like aside from the cleansing and the rituals, like they were also very much used as a musical instrument.
Or a dinner bell.
Yeah.
Like, well, dinner time. Maybe they were used for
making announcements, yelling at the people down there. Also, remember we were at the pyramids, and did you notice how people were talking or standing in different areas away from the pyramid and then speaking to someone across the land, and just the way that they're built and that the sound echoes.
Yeah.
You don't even have to yell. You're just speaking out, and your voice just carries into different parts of that area. That was wild.
The acoustics it was the Pyramid of the Moon, and then directly in front of that was that little raised up altar looking area. And there were tour guides that told part of their group to go to whatever point away, and they were just talking normally. They were spin around, jump up and down, and they were talking normally, and they were really far away, but they were jumping up and down and spinning around and stuff.
It's crazy to think they did that on purpose, because then they would host public meetings and events out there, and ceremonies, just barely whispering. Not whispering.
Because the Pyramid of the Moon was related to the feminine aspect. It was related to the fertility, the cultivation. It seemed much more of a ceremonial part of this town, because like others was more of the political power or artisans, but this seemed, they were all using ceremonies, but it seemed a bit more of those ceremonies that helped seed the crops. And so it seemed very important to the culture, especially with all the depictions of water, because it was the Pyramid of the Moon. Water was a really big aspect of that as well. And so, yeah, being able to just have these really important meetings and ceremonies, and they're just literally talking. And there was, at that peak, it was 200,000-ish plus or minus people living there. And so I'm sure not all of them went to those gatherings, but you're not going to be able to talk to that many people and then all hear you, because these squares and these courtyards were huge. To get a sense of the scale, look at the people in any of the pictures that we post, because they're tiny compared. Yeah. So I don't know, even just that not even technology, but just smarts. And you'd think they would really know math and all these things to calculate where we're going to build these things so that everyone can hear, but they didn't have any writing system. I think everything was oral. It was a lot of oral history. And so the immense knowledge.
Creative expression.
And to get into, since we're talking about like the neighborhoods, another really interesting aspect of Teotihuacan was it was a very diverse group of population. And they would have these little villas and living complexes designated or fairly much separated by which, was it the Mixtecs, was it the Zapotecs, whatever. The other cultures that come and live, they had, it's like how Chinatown or Little Italy and these other like cultural hubs, the way America had and still does in some places. We went to the Chinatown in Mexico City, and it seemed like each of those little pocket communities worked on their crafts, worked on their textiles, made their pottery. Each had experts, and it just seemed very much, this is where we perfect these trade items and objects. And they also received a lot of trade from other places, which was really interesting because
I love just hearing about that, because I feel like being in Mexico City, I had gone a lot when I was younger, but then being there as an adult and realizing this is Mexico, but it is also extremely diverse. There's so many different cultures and so many different people that are there. And so going into Teotihuacan and seeing that was also the vibe. I love it here, because I feel like a lot of people did maybe travel there to then work on their craft, sell it, barter, whatever it was, and just perfect it to then go back to their
and get exposed to a lot of different cultures in one time. So it's really, and a lot of the sources and stuff that we read, this was the metropolis of that time. It was one of the largest civilizations at that time and existed for that long. They had a really rapid population explosion, but rapid decline. We'll get to that. So on the map, there's the Pyramid of the Moon, but then there's the Pyramid of the Sun. But we didn't get to go to this area, but there was a Palace of Shala, and it, conflicting sources will say different things, but it seems as if it was more of a priestess living quarter or higher. Exactly. It was probably the cutest one. The cleanest one. So that was one part that we didn't get to see, but sounded very cool. That there seems to be, again, we don't know, a lot of this is up for interpretation, but a more priestess women's quarters that had a lot of spiritual activity. It seemed like a.
Can you imagine going in there and it's just all these amazing badass women?
Hell yeah. Planning one of the best cities that was led community. Because it seems, again, there's competing theories. Some people really firmly believe that they had a king and they had a ruling class and all these things, whereas other historians have the theory that we describe those communities of different ethnic groups, they would have a representative. So each community would have an equal representation and voice within the community or within that whole civilization, which when you think about 200,000 people, that's crazy. Like giving a direct voice to the people that inhabited your town, which makes sense, But then going on was the Pyramid of the Sun, and this one is the biggest one there and the third biggest in the world. It was staggering. Like it was so massive. And even just looking back at the pictures, my brain is just, how did we see that? And like the scale is just insane. And I
feel like we could have sat there 30 all day, really, just looking at it and just staring at it, because it was so huge
and just the stairs going all the way to the top.
You ponder so many things.
And well, people used to be able to climb to the top, but then they stopped doing that in COVID. So another thing COVID ruined, unfortunately. But we were super lucky and felt very fortunate to be blessed by a sun halo. There was some people call it sun dogs, a sun dog, and it's a halo around the sun. And I don't know, I geeked out for sure. They're pretty rare. I've seen one other in my life out in West Texas.
Check out the picture.
And we weren't just somewhere seeing a sun halo. We were at Teotihuacan at the freaking sun pyramid. What? Like, what are the odds of that? So I felt very, very lucky. Felt very blessed too.
Blessed and welcome.
But the Pyramid of the Sun.
It's bigger than the moon. I did do a physical offering there.
Oh yeah.
Pyramid of the Sun.
Explain that a little.
So I brought my huira, which is a Latin percussion instrument. And if you don't know what it looks like, that's the sound it makes. But I took a few pictures there, and then I got a little nervous, but I was like, no, I need to play.
And Julio pumped you up.
Julio was like, no, what's your musical offering? And I was like, he's right.
He's
and
right.
I just started playing. It was
fun.
great.
Yeah. And that one was just massive. And so I guess another thing that we haven't mentioned is the building of these pyramids. It was not in one fell swoop. So the Pyramid of the Moon was built first, but they're all kind of built in phases and built one on top of each other. There was I read something about the lower layers having some volcanic activity. So either with volcanic stones after an eruption or something involving a volcano. But then after the Pyramid of the Moon had started construction, on the second phase or an additional phase of building that one, they started the Pyramid of the Sun. So they started building that one from scratch after they had started the Pyramid of the Moon. And it's just so massive. I'm sure I'd feel the same way in Egypt, the Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah.
And, but just, all right, let's get started. Let's start building.
Like, you got that side, I got this side.
See you in like 500 years. I mean, I don't know how long. I should look that up to see how long it took to actually build them. And then the pyramids were also built. They found deposit, I think it was magnetite, a magnetic stone in the earth, and it was a large deposit of that in the earth, which may have affected the magnetic fields in that area. How did they know that? What was the benefit if they did know that? And why were they just literally magnetized to that area? So it wasn't even conceptual.
So many questions.
So many questions.
I mean, I just feel blessed we were there, standing there on that land, staring at them.
we bought some bracelets from there, and Julio was worried that it wasn't going to be real obsidian, which was often used in that area. But we agreed that even if it wasn't real obsidian, it's just the fact that we got it there.
It was sourced there locally.
Yeah, so maybe it's not real obsidian, but the fact that we bought it steps in front of these massive pyramids. Yeah, so connecting the Pyramid of the Moon, and then there's the Pyramid of the Sun, this long street was called the Avenue of the Dead, right? And it was big. It was a big road.
It's a mile and a half long.
Wow.
But we didn't walk the whole thing because we went through the other side.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot of tombs that lined the whole street.
So when we were at the Pyramid of the Sun, it was really sweet. There were a couple dogs in the area, and they were just kind of doing their thing, patrolling the grounds, like climbing up on the pyramid. Climbing up on the pyramid.
Showing off.
Yeah, like look what I can do.
Gnarly.
And then one of them, Arthur, my brother, came as well, and he was like, "Oh, I want to pet you." And then I was like, "Oh, Mexican dogs, they're just doing their own thing." But then it followed us, and it like walked, I wouldn't say half the way to the other side, but
kind of guided us that way.
Like if we didn't have Julio, he definitely would have told us where to go. Yes. But I felt very blessed for that because these dogs were just doing their thing, and it's like, actually, I like you guys.
Yeah,
I like it's chosen.
I feel like they're friendly, but they're not friendly to where they're gonna come. And this dog was like, "Come on, let's go, follow me."
We took a pretty long walk down the road. It was quite a ways. We passed some more living quarters, which was really cool. So I think the further you go out, the like less specialized workers, the more normal people. So they seem pretty normal living quarters. And then we make our way to the other area, which is where the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent is. And this one, I mean, it's hard to pick favorites because they were all so amazing. Yeah. And the Pyramid of the Sun was just massively huge, and that was crazy. But the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent had big busts of these stone figures of the feathered serpent, of this other kind of like ambiguous, what god is it, or they weren't really sure.
And it had a bunch of seashells, conch shells inside in the wall.
And I'm gonna need to find a picture of it painted and put that in there, because like it's the top is kind of gone. Honestly, the heads that are still there, they're in really good condition. And I was like, are those original? And he was like, yep, because they looked great compared to the top was all busted up a little bit.
It's true.
But yeah, no, he said they were legit, and I was really surprised about that. And he said they were, I don't want to sound like a bro, they were legit.
They were still intact.
They were intact.
But it was crazy to see so many
Mhm.
different faces. And also, we took pictures there, and it's almost like the clouds
Bro.
immediately formed into one of the serpent heads behind. That was wild too.
Yeah, that was crazy. I saw that after the fact and I was like, was he there with us? And so I had brought some tobacco that had some flowers mixed in it because I just felt it was very important to give an offering back. So each of us got a little handful of tobacco and we gave it to the earth and just said thank you. And honestly, I feel like they knew we were going to say thank you because I just felt like that whole trip was so perfect and blessed and like
Honestly, y'all, that was the best day.
it was
Like,
the
I haven't
best
even posted about it because I
day.
don't want to make y'all jealous. It was the best day.
I think the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent kind of is my favorite. It was just so striking. And the way that Julio described it was it wasn't so Quetzalcoatl is called the feathered serpent god. That's his name. And so I was kind of thinking, oh, this is Quetzalcoatl's pyramid honoring him, and he's one of the creator gods. But the way that Julio explained it, it was a bit more like, no, it could be, it's a little bit ambiguous, but they thought that putting together all of these things that signify royalty or power, because the other deity that has a bust, and again that's a little ambiguous, but there were elements of that showed that this is like just really powerful. So it could have been, and it was in the citadel area, so it could have been more of a political area. Let's just put all of our powerful figures on this pyramid to show that this is powerful, yeah. That we're mighty or whatever. Should we talk about the tunnel? I just forgot about the tunnel.
God, y'all, there's a tunnel of Mercury.
So in 2003,
Like, what?
for what?
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Yesterday they found this.
Keep in mind this to really get a conceptualized accurate timing in this. They were popping off 2,600 plus or minus years ago, and we only found this tunnel
Yesterday.
comparatively yesterday. Yeah, 2003 and it's 2025. That is like yesterday. And they found it because after some flooding, the ground was sinking. It was turning into a sinkhole, and they were like, I guess let's look in there. And they sent robots in there, and yeah, they found a liquid mercury under there. Some places say a river of liquid mercury, and then I don't get the full visual understanding of how they can call it a river. Like, how much mercury was it?
Also, is it
Ambiguous.
yeah, is it a pond?
Is it just like a little?
Like a cenote?
And then Julio explained that they used the mercury and the mica to be reflective surfaces. Another thing depicting it as the underworld, so that they would have probably torches or something to light it up, and then the mica and which is an element, a natural element, and the liquid mercury would reflect that, so it would be like the stars of the underworld. But still, where'd they get it from? Is liquid mercury naturally occurring anywhere? I just don't know.
They built it there on purpose. Like they knew that was there back in the day.
No. Oh, and we also learned that the tunnel was built before the pyramid of the feathered serpent, and it was a long chamber, and then at the end had a little bit more space at the end. And they thought when they found it, they're like, "Oh, sweet, we finally found where the ruler's tomb was." And then, psych, it wasn't, because they didn't have a ruler. And we have a whole theory on what was going on, because
Pretty sure it's true.
yeah, all I don't want to say all signs point to yes, because we are regular people and not historians and don't have a PhD or anything in this.
Nope.
But
Just here for the vibe.
this is my theory. This is what we've cooked up, because there are a lot of similarities, and there are a lot of things that from Teotihuacan bled out into other civilizations. And there are some things that did not. And the things that did not really stuck out to me. So they, in their religion and spiritual practice, they had different deities, and many went on to, Aztec culture used in their mythology and things like that. But one that did not was the great goddess of Teotihuacan, which represented the fertility, water, and it seemed like she was really important in their society, in their ceremonies, and it did not take on at all after the downfall of Teotihuacan, which was really interesting to me, because we think it was a matriarchal society that was more led by women. There's a lot of things that kind of point towards Teotihuacan being more lax about their gender roles. It wasn't just like the males have to lead and do these things. It really seemed like more elevation was given towards women. There's a really giant statue of that great goddess of Teotihuacan, and just that the theories of that the palace of Shela, that the priestesses were involved in the religious practices. It wasn't just the men. There are a lot of signs that point to this being more of a matriarchal society.
Hell yeah.
And honestly, that could explain why they don't have depictions of rulers, because you could explain it a couple different ways. Like, the women don't want it to be seen that there's a ruler. It's set up as a community based society. Or if they had depictions of female based rulers, maybe that would invite more strife from other countries. So it could have been strategic in a couple different ways. And honestly, it kind of makes sense that women would be ruling more, because women are the ones that do the textiles often. And if this society was based on their trade and their textiles and their crafts and the pottery, the women usually are the ones doing that work, that technical work with their hands. And so I could see, like, we're the ones doing the work. They're going to be the ones, having a voice in the community. So I can see it making sense for a lot of reasons, honestly.
They're the ones also like raising all the little ones, like making clothing for everyone, like the food.
Interesting. Well, I have another woman theory. I was reading up on Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent god, and he was one of the Aztec creator gods that it is talked about in the Popol Vuh, which is their book that describes the creation mythology and things like that. And when I was reading about it, it talked about Quetzalcoatl and his brother, and how they were the ones responsible for creating Earth. And there were different challenges. They had to flood the Earth. Again, the floods are a very common theme. So they had to flood the Earth, start over. And then Quetzalcoatl went into the underworld, stole some bones, came up, and then had to sacrifice himself and his blood, and Julio said his semen as well, which is a pretty normal thing in human creation for the gods. But that was the ingredients for life to start this phase of humanity. So as I was reading this stuff about Quetzalcoatl, I just felt like a lot of the aspects that were associated with Quetzalcoatl were very feminine. The nurturing, the fertility, daily life, these things that just, as I was reading it, felt very feminine. And I'm just feeling like him and his brother, the two creator gods, I just felt like the brother embodied more of those masculine aspects, and Quetzalcoatl embodied more of the feminine aspects. The Quetzalcoatl is always depicted as a man. It's always he pronouns, but just like reading it, I just started having that thought. And, I feel like also the snake seems very feminine, and it just was a little interesting. And so I was reading, and I'm gonna read this and then explain the parallel that I thought that this is very similar to a story we've heard before. After the creation of humanity, Quetzalcoatl's relationship with his brother Tezcatlipoca became strained, leading to conflict between the two gods. According to one version of the myth, Quetzalcoatl's downfall came when he was tricked by Tezcatlipoca's into drinking pulque, a fermented drink, which we got to try, and it was really good.
So good.
And thus losing his virtue. Humiliated by this, Quetzalcoatl went into exile, journeying What other time did someone consume something and it caused the downfall of the virtue? Eve eating the apple, Quetzalcoatl drinking the pulque, having alcohol, what a big deal, caused the downfall of humanity for Eve and downfall of Quetzalcoatl. And so I just felt these similarities were really interesting. I just think that and this was the Aztecs version. This is the Quetzalcoatl they have portrayed. And I could see if Teotihuacan was more of a feminine backed, I don't want to say ruling class, because I still don't think that like it was like a female ruled, but it was definitely more of a female led and guided community, that the Aztecs did not take the great goddess of Teotihuacan. They did not take that and add that into their mythology. Maybe they also really wanted to change Quetzalcoatl into a more masculine portrayal and removing that feminine, I don't know, image from Quetzalcoatl. And these are gods. This is all mythology. This is all stories. But I think that it matters. I think that if you're viewing, like what Julio said, you're putting all the powerful things on this pyramid, and Quetzalcoatl's a man. He's a male. I think that holds weight. I think it really does. It dissipates into social meaning. And so I really, maybe it's just because I'm a woman, I don't know, but I really feel like it was a matriarchy society. They were experts in textile. They traded all over the world. It seemed like the best of the trades came there to produce goods in Teotihuacan. Each community had a voice for their ethnic group. They were able to perfect their craft, and they really got to focus on their art and their practice. And like that just seems so feminine to me. And then over time, because they grew really fast, a lot of people came to Teotihuacan, and even other people in societies would come to Teotihuacan because like they've heard all these things. It's like a distant Shangri-La that's like very mythical feeling and different. And so I think that over time the word got out, and then the mixing continued, and then maybe enough people that were from more male-led societies came in, wanted to have more control,
trying to take over.
And because one of the things we learned was that they showed in the downfall of Teotihuacan that a lot of some of the buildings and communities were burned down. One of being the Palace of Shela, the one that was mostly associated with the priestesses. So I could see that the Palace of Shela being a target if it was something like, this has been too much of a women-led society, we're taking it down. And that could have been seen as one of the important spots for the spiritual practices that women led, and I'm sure other things.
But it just seemed like they honored women so much, like the power, like how powerful they were with like their fertility.
Yeah.
It was just held up here all the time.
Yeah. And but it's interesting because they really cared a lot about duality. And this is something that Julio explained that I never have thought about, that he asked what was the masculine version of water and what the feminine version of water. And I really had to think about it. And then he said that because to me, I think of water as feminine, but they still balanced it. It wasn't all women or all feminine. It seemed very balanced. So to me, the uprising or whatever is still very confusing. It is a mystery.
The feminine energy of the water was the oceans, the rivers,
springs,
everything from the earth,
the water that came from the earth.
And then the masculine water energy was everything falling from the sky, the thunderstorms, the rain,
fog.
Yeah,
it's like the heavens giving the earth, and then vice versa. Yeah, and it just doesn't seem like it was not like a matriarchy the way we may be living in a patriarchy now. It doesn't seem like that. It seems more balanced. So the downfall is very confusing. It seemed to rise rapidly, fall pretty rapidly, and then it just dwindled over time from 200,000 people living there to 10,000, then to no one, and just a few people there still doing ceremony practices. And then it was found, that was in around the year 700 to 800 CE. So since year zero.
Just crazy. How do you even fathom that amount of years?
I know. It's crazy.
So crazy.
So many years ago. And then the Aztecs didn't find this area until 1700. Covered in grass, looked like just mounds. Oh, another thing was the pyramids aligning with the mountains behind it. The Pyramid of the Moon aligns with the Cerro Gorda.
We got pictures to show you. Yes, it was the Cerro Gorda. That means like fat desert mountain range, which they were thick. But yes, it was crazy to see in those photos just the outline of all the mountain range in the back just aligning with what's there right now.
Are
I'm
those
like,
pyramids under those mountains too?
I believe it.
And then, so another thing that we were just toying around with out there, just thoughts and ideas, because in my research, I stumbled upon a scientific paper that was doing research on the artifacts. I'll link the paper if you guys want to check it out. But doing studies on artifacts that were found and measuring what the Earth's magnetic frequency was at the time, because it does shift and change over time. And so they were able to test this. They found that the location and the magnetic frequency of the Earth was slightly different than compared to now. And so if, just you could, no limits to your thoughts and just making sense of what happened, because it's very confusing that this massive pyramids, people are just like, yeah, let's move.
Why'd you leave this magical
Why would
place?
you leave it?
Everyone wanted to go there.
Mm-hmm.
It was
It
the
was
poppin' spot.
it was the cool hip spot. But if over time the magnetic frequency got out of a range that was somehow usable with the pyramids, or like we said, there's those deposits of the magnetic rocks underneath the pyramids. And so it just seems like there was very precise planning. The Pyramid of the Sun coordinates with the moon, or the sun rises, and at half of the year, or in half of the cycle, it's in the direct middle of the Pyramid of the Sun. So like they were very dead on about a lot of these things, very precise. So what if the frequency just shifted a little too far out, and whatever technology the pyramids gave to them was no longer usable because it just didn't align in this? These machines are dead. I don't know. It's like batteries that don't work anymore.
Like now I'm thinking, what if it was like dangerous to be there? The
Magnetic frequencies.
yeah, like they just assumed like, oh, we have to leave for a certain amount of time, and who knows?
Well, and there was a theory about if there was some cosmic job that needed to get done, and that's why all of these craftsmen and workers came to this area and focused on that only. And then once their job was done, they were done and they left. Now it's just like one of the crazy theories, but it's so confusing why you would have this amazing society built out and seemed very eclectic, making money on trading. They were like one of the biggest trading areas. Like they were pumping it out. So it's really confusing how it could just dwindle so quickly. And one of the contributing factors was drought and losing water over time. But then what I was thinking was, if they became bombarded with wanting it to be more of a male-led society like the ones around, that female water goddess controlling the water and the fertility of the land. Are there these connections where was the god like, okay, if you're not going to be, I don't want to say worshiping me, because it didn't really seem like worship. It seemed just like ceremonies and rituals to give and receive, and just the exchange of life. So I don't want to say they were worshiping these gods. Maybe they were, I don't know. And this is all just spitballing, but did they stop partaking in those rituals for those goddesses, focusing more on the citadel? Because that was built after. And then was that great Teotihuacan goddess like, all right, peace, then no more water for you guys, and now you're going through a drought?
I wish I would have gone in the museum.
I know the museum was closed when we
Might
were
have
there.
had
Some answers.
yeah, a little more answers.
Oh, we just gotta go
A lot
back.
more questions.
Probably more questions.
We probably would have had more
Because
questions.
it's just so crazy. Like, why are they gone?
Mhm.
Why are they gone?
Yeah.
It felt very magical still. Like it felt
did.
really, I don't know.
When we were offering tobacco to the earth and just being grateful for being there, this is the land of offering.
Mm-hmm.
All of this territory felt so special.
Mm-hmm.
Like it felt very special and I felt very close to my roots.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Bringing that.
Yeah. It felt like it just made sense. I got
Yeah.
the idea and I had to do it. Had to bring it along.
Great idea.
Yeah, it was great. And the day didn't stop there.
Yeah, we got picked up from these pyramids and picked up in a cozy little car with a cold beers for us, and we're not even beer drinkers, y'all. Walking all day in the heat and then getting back to
so good.
Danny picked us up and took us to Miguel's home. His home, it's an obsidian workshop in there. He had an agave plant in there, multiple.
Yeah.
He also had a little store in there where he sold all kinds of obsidian goodies, jewelry, sculptures.
Sammy bought the whole store.
Sammy bought the whole store.
What, wasn't that from them too?
This is from them. But it was just such a great space.
And it wasn't like a store open to the public.
No.
It was just for these little demonstrations, because he first showed us that you can peel the inside and outside layers of the agave plants to make paper. It was so strong. He said that they would add more moisture and then put rocks on it or heavy stuff on it to flatten them out, and they would legit use it as paper. And they also use it. I thought it was like similar to a bay leaf. Putting a bay leaf in a stew, it's like you don't eat it. And because we got these different dishes that had this paper in it, and I had noticed it, but I didn't know what it was. And then I was like, this was that thing. And it smelled so pungent. It was so fragrant. And then honestly, kind of the craziest thing, the end of the agave, they all have these points. Literally, he like cut around it. I'll put the video on, and he pulls out the thread of the agave connected to the needle.
All the fibers of the plant, he said.
It was and it was so strong. We were like pulling on it.
Back in the day, they used to sew with that, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Weave baskets, weave anything.
And then, so the agave gives you everything.
It really does.
And then there was the sugar.
Pulque.
And then, they showed us traditional pulque,
which is like a fermented, low alcohol drink, which back in the day, it was only given to pregnant women, warriors, and royalty. It was so good.
It was really good. It's like thick.
Like a kombucha.
I had never heard of it before. Yeah. I've heard of like tepache, and then obviously kombucha. And there's a couple other fermented drinks, but I'd never heard of pulque.
So good.
Yeah. You get them from a pulqueria.
Shout out to
Miguel.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
He taught us all about the plant, the agave plant, and then let us try the pulque. He also had some mezcal for us.
Yes, and tequila.
And
the liqueur.
And liqueur.
And hot sauces.
And hot sauces. And some chamoy jelly. Y'all.
They treated us right.
We came back. We bought everything.
We're halfway already gone with the salsa we got.
It's so
I was like, Jake, we need to chill.
They made this matcha salsa.
It has like nuts and
it looks like a chili.
So good.
Like a chili bomb.
Chili, like the crunchy chili kind of. It looks like that. It's so good. If you ever see matcha salsa, buy it. It's so good. And then Julio took us to another friend's house where they cooked us a traditional dinner, and it was so delicious with the nopals. And the little piece of paper of the agave was used to cook in these little foil bags. So it was cool to get that right after learning what it was. It was so delicious.
What did we have? We had the chicken.
Chicken with the nopales.
Rice.
Fresh tortillas. Yeah. Salsa, the spicy salsa.
Salsa. Agua de Jamaica. Then they went and
limon.
Agua de limon. Oh, and what were those the other little things?
Oh.
It was like a sope.
Sope with black beans. It was so good.
Also, yeah, we wouldn't have been to seen these local homes and supported them if we hadn't gone on this tour with Julio. He has all of these connections in that area.
Everyone knew him.
And Miguel, where we learned about the agave plant and the obsidian, he had his own little workshop there. It seems like that they've been doing that for years in their family. So it was really cool to just see the stones that he collected from the mines nearby, and then he would take those in to work on them in the workshop. But
it was amazing.
Such a great experience.
Yeah. If you're going to that area, if you're going to Teotihuacan, Definitely go see the pyramids, but check out Julio, or if not, local tours, Airbnb experience, because those are real people. And if you're just gonna go and wander around and not get a tour guide, you're gonna miss so much.
Because we had this conversation. We probably could have gone there without a tour guide, but there's no way that we would have learned all of the things
like
we
the sunken
learned.
patios, all of those little things.
All the little meanings behind things you're seeing right there. It was worth it to have
So worth it.
someone that knew what most everything was.
Yeah, it was really great. And then just like getting to experience more of like real Mexico. Because we were in Mexico City, which is comparable to New York City. You might not get like the full real life Mexico day to day. It's definitely a bit more cosmopolitan. So it was really cool just to like kind of be out on the outskirts, and I don't know, they're so sweet. Like it was just like everyone was so pure and so sweet and welcoming and loving. Mexico's the best.
Great vibe.
Yeah, it was 10 out of 10. And we already want to go back. I have questions. Go back to the museum. It's so close to Austin,
so
dude.
Close. It's like a 2 hour and a half flight.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very close.
Super close.
Go visit.
Bye. Thanks for joining for this episode of the Nad Knows podcast.
Woo!
Thank you, Laura.
Nad
You're the
knows,
best.
y'all. Thank you.